Okay, so for today, we are going to discuss the guidelines that we have for IGCSE business. In the previous session, we have already discussed about the IGCSE business studies syllabus. So in this session, we are going to really see what is the guideline when we are going to answer a business question. First, I will give the guideline. Next, I will show the questions that correlate to each guideline. Just a recap that we have 4 assessment objectives in business. AO1 is knowledge, AO2 is application, AO3 is analysis, AO4 is evaluation. Usually when we talk about knowledge, we abbreviate it as K, application is APP, analysis is AN, and evaluation is EV. That is how we usually abbreviate it. Now let us see the assessment structure, which we already had or we already covered in the previous session. So for paper 1 is 80 marks, duration is 1 hour 30 minutes, and it is worth 50%. Same case for paper 2, it is 80 marks, duration of 1 hour 30 minutes, and it's also worth 50%. Now, of course, for this session, we will focus ourselves on paper 1. Paper 2, we will be covering in a different session. So when we want to answer paper 1, we need to know first how many questions are there for paper 1. Total of 4 questions. I will add. So total of 4 questions. In each question, there will be 5 questions. Or to make you not confused, I will use the word letters. Meaning to say question 1 will have question A, B, C, D, E, question 2, A, B, C, D, E, question 3, A, B, C, D, E, and question 4, A, B, C, D, E. That's the situation. Now, question 1, 2, 3, and 4 is almost the same structure. They will give you a paragraph. After that paragraph, you will be given questions. So questions A, B, C, D, and E. So in that case, we only need to understand what is being asked by each question. We only need to understand what is being asked by each question, in a sense that what is being requested in question A, what is being requested in question B, what is being requested in question C, as well as D and E. Now to start with, for question A is worth 2 marks. So question A is worth 2 marks. It is containing of 2K. 2K meaning 2 knowledge. So there is 2 knowledge marks for this question. And this question usually asks for a definition. Define motivation, define leadership, define business, define needs, define wants, define scarcity, from what we learned in the previous sessions. Okay, that is question A. Question B, it's also 2 marks. It can ask for 2K or 2 APP, 2 app. So there is either 2 knowledge marks or 2 application marks for this question. Question can ask for another definition. Question A is fixed definition. Question B might be asking for another definition. You can also be asked of identifying of theory points, which is like list down the characteristic of entrepreneurs, or list down the 2 leadership style, or list down the 2 sources of finance. Only listing down. Or can also be asked to calculate the revenue of the business. Calculate whatever. You'll be asked to calculate with a formula that you have to write. 2 marks for question B. Question A and B, usually it's not too difficult. It's quite simple. Now, before I proceed to question C, D, and E, I want to give you a look first of how the paper look like. Please kindly wait. Okay, so let us see here an example of one of the previous year paper of business studies, paper 1. I purposely take it from October, November 2018. So the recent one, not the old one. Okay, as the duration, 1 hour 30 minutes, right? Instructions given, total marks 80, as I mentioned before. So I'm not making up things, but things are according to what they give. Now let's see. This is exactly nice. They will give this question like this. They will give like one paragraph, like M&R Motors has 2 car showrooms. Again, they will explain, and they will also give some visual or some information about the business. After they give some short illustration of the business, they will now start with question A. Question A, what is meant by? So Cambridge, they either use the term what is meant by, or they change it to define. The same thing. What is meant by or define is the same thing. You need to give the definition. This is just nice. We discussed added value before. So you can fill up the answer. Added value means the difference between the selling price of a product and the cost of bought-in material. Giving a definition will gain you 2 marks. Remember, because it is 2 marks, so it has to be complete definition and not partial. Complete definition is a definition that has at least 2 elements. 2 component or 2 elements has to be discussed within that definition to make it complete. Don't just give a partial or definition which is not too clear or which is not complete. Now, what I say, second question, sometimes they will ask again, what is meant by factors of production? They can, but this time they ask, identify 2 qualities that M&R might look for in the new manager. What are the 2 qualities that they might look for? Let's say manager, they want them to be hardworking. The answer, hardworking, or multi-skilled, or let's say what else? Willing to take risks, or commitment, committed, or integrity. What are the qualities that they want to look in for the manager? So this is more of a short answer, yeah, not asking you for long answer because they only provide this much. Do not answer more than the line provided. That's the key. They provide this line. That means they already measure that if your handwriting is big, you will consume this space. If your handwriting is small, maybe this space. So in Cambridge, do not write more than what they ask because you don't have the time to do so. Don't just think that you will write more because you will get higher score. No, there is no use for you writing more. You will sacrifice the other question. We have a limited time, 90 minutes only. So this is example of question A and B. I want to give you another example. Same thing, paragraph as an information or introductory information. And then question A, what is meant by define? Then second one is C. For B, just now is identify, now is what is meant by. So as I mentioned, it can be what is meant by, it can be defined, it can be identified. Again, I'll show you. Identify also. Identify, right? So it's either identification, definition, or calculation. Let's see if there is a calculation for this particular chapter. This one. Calculate, right? So I'm basing it all already on the structure they give. Calculate the values of X and Y. See, for question B, they can be defined, they can be calculation, they can be identification. Now we move on to the next one, which is question C. So question A and B, easy. Should be easy for us to complete. Now question C, this is where it starts to get a little bit tricky, but it's still okay. Question C is 4 marks. It is a combination of 2 knowledge and 2 application, 2K plus 2 app or 2 APP. There is 2 knowledge and 2 application for this particular question. The question will require candidate or students to identify 2 knowledge or theory points or theoretical points and explain it based on the context of the question. Context means using some of the information provided in the question or text or short case, but to take note that using only the business name will not be sufficient. I will show you what it means by context when we go back to the PDF file. Basically, the person reading your answer, which is the teacher, me, or the Cambridge examiner meaning the people in Cambridge that will check your paper, as an information for all of you, that when you take the Cambridge exam, it's not me that will check, but we will be scanning the test and they will be the one. The people in UK will be the one to check your exam. So don't think that the teachers can help your grades for the Cambridge, but it's your own effort that will help yourself. So you need to make sure the person reading your answer should know something about the business. Go back to the PDF. Go back to the first question. Now, let's look at the question first before I explain what we mean by context. The question, let's say, is identify and explain 2 methods of selection M&R could use when choosing the new manager. Okay. Identify is short, yeah. Remember, if you hear the word identify is short. Identify meaning here. Method 1 is identify. Method 2, another identify, short. Explain is a little bit longer. If you hear the word explain, it has to be longer. So identify and explain 2 methods of selection that M&R could use when choosing the new manager. You identify the method, what type of selection that they could use. We haven't learned this topic, right? Let's say, let me inform you the answer then. Selection. When choosing the manager, they can use what method? They can use the online recruitment, let's say. I will just tell you the answer, yeah. Online recruitment. Method 2. Let's say method 2 would be, what is the other one? It can use the newspaper advertisement, let's say. Online recruitment or online advertisement, online job vacancy or newspaper. That is called method 1, method 2. What about the explanation? Explanation will be taken here. Now it's time for me to explain context. Context is the other word to describe application. Context is the other word to describe application. Context shows that you understand what the business is doing, and when the teachers check, we know that you understand what the business is doing. But it's not simply just the name of the company. It is not just using name of company to show context. Context is shown if you can tell some info about the business. Let's say you can say that they have 2 car showroom, that they buy old car and repair them, that they are always trying to increase added value, that they plan to open another showroom, that the job will be advertised in local newspaper, that the advertisement will cost $5 for 1 week. So these are the information that you can get from the text that shows your understanding of the business. When you write explanation, for example, method 1 is online recruitment. Explanation, you need to explain why online recruitment is the best one. First of all, you need to explain why online recruitment is the best one. That's the first thing. You need to explain why online recruitment is the best one, but make sure that when you explain it, you will be using some of the terms given here. Perhaps you want to show, you want to inform that you understand that they are a car showroom, or something else that you know about the business. That's what we call as context. Without that, your explanation will not be receiving a mark. That's the requirement for this explanation part. Now we go back to the other file. Now question D is where it is going to be difficult because it is starting to be having more marks, 6 marks. 6 marks consisting of 2K plus 2F or APP plus 2N or AN. Basically, there is 2 knowledge, 2 application, and 2 analysis for this question. Total of 6 marks, 2 plus 2 plus 2. It's similar to question C. First step, you need to identify the knowledge point about the question being asked and then provide the explanation based on the context. For the analysis, we need to determine the impact of a certain concept or idea towards the business or towards different stakeholder. So first application is similar to question C. Whatever I explained in question C just now, it will apply also here for application. At the same time, there is one more that we need to focus here, which is analysis. We need to determine what is the impact of whatever we write, what is the impact of that concept or that knowledge that we write towards the business or towards different stakeholders. We need to practice analysis by placing ourselves in the business or as a business owner and asking ourselves, you reflect and ask yourself why that certain concept matters for the business and in what way will it matter. So that's the key when you want to write analysis. You ask yourself, why does this matter for me? Why does this matter for the business? Put yourself in the shoes of the business owner. Now we go back to the PDF. Question D, identify and explain 2 factors that M&R might consider when deciding on a location for the new showroom. Because this topic has not been discussed before, so I will just inform. Let's say factor 1, when they want to decide location for the showroom, they need to consider factor 1, availability of labor or availability of worker. Factor 2, the cost. Let's say the cost or the rental cost. That is called knowledge. Only short, 2 to 5 words. If you make it more than 5 words, it's a sign that you are explaining. That should be placed here. If you make it more than 5 words, it's a sign that's already an explanation and should be placed in the explanation part. But for knowledge, it's simply only few words, not until 1 sentence, just phrases. That is the thing for factor 1. You might want to say availability of worker on that area. Factor 2, the cost of rent. Explanation, go back again to the question. What can you tell again about the business? Now some might be asking, can we use the same application or same information that we have used in just now? I already explained question C. You have used some info here. Can we repeat the information for D? Yes, because C and D is a separate number. It is within number 1, but it is a separate number. So the answer is yes, you may use the information again for letter D. But there is a but. But if you have used information for D, for question D, this part, first explanation, you cannot repeat the explanation for the second one. So within 1 letter, within 1 sub, this is called letter or sub number, yeah, because we have number 1, right? This is called sub number or letter. Within 1 letter, you cannot repeat the explanation. If you will repeat the explanation, then you cannot be given the marks. So basically application, you will use some of the words like increase added value, plans to open new showroom, and then advertising local newspaper, two-car showroom, buys old car, repairs old car. Okay, these are called application. What about analysis? Analysis doesn't come from the text. If application is getting info from the text, that is what I always say. Application is when you get information from the text. But if it is already analysis, it should come from you. Analysis should come from you. You should be putting yourself in the shoes of the business, of the manager, or of the owner. Then why do you think that we should consider the cost of rent when we want to decide on the location? Or why do you think that we need to consider the availability or the access to labor? Why? Explain. So if you want to know how do you think of analysis, ask the question why. Why does cost of rent become important? What is the impact of cost of rent to our business? Why does access to labor is important? What is the impact of access to labor on our business? You should ask those questions and you can easily write analysis, because it will be blah, 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 and it will lead to, usually we use, if analysis, we use the word, it will result in, it will lead to, it will affect who, it will affect who. And hence, and therefore, we use this word to show that it is an impact, it is an effect or an impact or an influence to the business. That is for question D. Before I go back to the other file, perhaps you would like to see the other question. Question C, identify and explain two factors that might affect the accuracy of FTT's market research. Same format, just a different content. Question D, identify and explain two ways in which being ethical might help FTT. So all here is similar. Even for question 3C, identify and explain two methods of lean production that TRB might use, and the rest, which I do not need to show each one. It's the same as long as what we need to remember is in this file. For question D, 2 knowledge plus 2 application plus 2 analysis. And we'll be practicing always, of course, we'll be practicing on how should we write our answer that it will include all the aspects. For the last one, which is question E in paper 1, the last model or the last type is question E. It is also 6 marks. It consists of 2K, 2N, and 2 EV. And this is the 6 marks question, and it is the most difficult question in IGCSE Business Studies paper 1. It is the most difficult question in IGCSE Business Studies paper 1. You will know why when I explain the content of this question, what is being asked here. So again, to restate, there is 2 knowledge, 2 analysis, and 2 evaluation mark that is available for this question. The command word or the instruction of the question usually is justify. If they say it's justify, it means that we need to make a decision and support that decision with the relevant evidence. The answer for this question is divided into 2 parts, the main body and then the conclusion. In the main body part, we need to present 2 sides of the question being asked. Usually we use the term yes because blah 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 and then no because blah blah blah. This is called the main body part. One is going to support the concept, the other one is going to be against. Usually you will be asked, is it better to have what's that the name? Is it better to have full-time or part-time workers? So you will present 2 sides. One, you will support full-time. One, you will support part-time. That's called presenting 2 sides. Or you will be You can also use the strategy of presenting advantage and disadvantage of the concept that is being asked. You can also use this. Present the advantage and disadvantage of the concept that is being asked. This part will include the two knowledge and two analysis. Now in the final paragraph, which is the conclusion, in the conclusion part, we need to come up with a decision and justify why our decision is the best decision for the business. Remember, you have to come up with a decision. Don't say that both are good, both are not good. No. In this part, you already say that both are good or both are not good in the first part. In the conclusion or in the evaluation, we call it as conclusion or evaluation part. Usually we write as conclusion or evaluation part. You must come up with a decision. Don't keep on being confused yourself. A point to take note for this part is that always come up with a new evidence or a new point or new argumentation in this part and do not repeat the points you have made in the main body part. Never repeat. If you repeat whatever you have said above, that is called summary. That is not an evaluation, yeah. Evaluation is not summary or not summarizing what you have mentioned. Evaluation is a justification. Justify. Why is it really, really good? You need to justify it. So you need to present it with a new point of view, not just summarizing. And one more point to note is conclusion is never a summarization of points. This is what I say, but it is more of a justification, justify. Okay, if you say something, justify it. Why you choose that? So it has to be a very strong point, even stronger than what you mentioned in the analysis, even stronger than what you mentioned in the main body part, and certain or sure. It should be something sure and not something that is still 50-50. It should be something that is very, very sure. Therefore, in this part, you will be awarded 2 evaluation marks. This is for question E. Of course, we will see again the example. Question 1. Let's go to E so you know what questions are you expecting. Do you think a newspaper is the best way for MNR to advertise the new job? Question mark. Justify your answer. This is the space given is this much. If the space given is this much and it's 6 marks, our expectation or the Cambridge expectation is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If your handwriting is small, you will cover around this part. If your handwriting is small, but if your handwriting is big, you will cover the full. They always give space for the biggest handwriting possible. So what they give is usually the biggest handwriting. So if your handwriting is small, usually you will cover up less spaces. So don't be afraid that you don't cover the spaces if your handwriting is small. In the main body part, we're going to write, do you think newspaper is the best way? If you haven't learned business before, if it is the first time for you to learn business, your answer would be directly short. Yes, newspaper is the best way because newspaper advertisement is cheap, full stop. That's not showing that you are a business student. If you answer it that way, it's more of a general question. Oh, do you think newspaper is good? Yes, I think newspaper is the best way because it's very cheap to post advertisement in newspaper. That's a non-business student. If we are a business student, you should say first. You should say or present 2 sides. Yes, newspaper is the best way because explain your argumentation in this part. Second part, I don't think that newspaper is the best way because explain again your argumentation. And the last part, in my opinion, or I think that, or based on that, I think that newspaper, you have to decide now. Is it the best or not? If you say it's the best, you need to present a new point. You need to present a new point. Why is it best? And do not use the point that you have explained above. Never use or never repeat the point that you have explained above. You need to present a new point and you need to justify why is it the best. Justification usually you come up with a new point that you will support why newspaper is the best, and at the same time you oppose. At the same time you will oppose the other one, or you will oppose why newspaper is not good. Or sorry, I repeat. You will oppose because you say newspaper is the best. Let's say you have decided that newspaper is the best. Let's say, yeah. Let's say you have decided that newspaper is the best. Then you will oppose another method. Let's say posting in online website, or what else aside from newspaper, online posting in magazine. You will oppose another method of job advertisement. You will say that newspaper is the best, and at the same time for the conclusion or for the evaluation, you will oppose something else is not as good as newspaper. Why? Why is it not good? Why if you post in magazine is not good? Why if you post in online is not good? That you have to explain. Then that is called justification. That will show that, oh yes, as a business decision maker, as a business person, oh yes, based on what I read, based on what we read from your answer, we can know that, oh, I agree with you that newspaper is the best way. If you only write from the beginning, you only write one sentence, yes, newspaper is the best way because it's cheap. How can we justify? How can we be sure? Based on what argumentation? Based on what point? We don't know. So we have to be very clear on this. For number 2, E, recommend an appropriate pricing method. Always in the end there is justify. Pricing method, we have several pricing methods, so you can mention cost plus pricing, or you can mention competitive pricing, psychological pricing, and the rest. Number 3. 3E, do you think there are more opportunities than threat? If yes, why? If no, why? What is your conclusion? Number 4, do you think overdraft is the best way to solve cash flow problem? If yes, why? If no, why? And what is your conclusion? So always this format, not just say yes, not just say no, but present first the points. Why is it yes? Why is it no? And eventually come up with the conclusion. So that is what I can inform for this session regarding the IGCSE business guideline, particularly for paper 1. I hope you can understand it. So thank you for listening in this session.